before we get out of here, I do want to make sure we talk about the Empire Classic, because this will be the last chance we get to really talk about it before they actually play the games. I know you're going to be in New York for the radio calls, correct? Over on 93.9 The Bill?
It's 50-50 right
50-50?
now. I should know if I'm going. If not, I'll be home watching it. But originally I was supposed to go, and so anyway,
fair.
They're still working on those details. So we'll see.
That's fair. Well, I hope you do get to go. You get the New York trip. You can see some good games there, but
and get a slice of pizza.
Oh,
too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Katz's Deli. Katz's Delicatessen also, if you've ever been
Come on,
there.
man. Come on.
I
Come on.
Figured,
you didn't think you're talking to.
What,
Jack? Jeez. Come on, Jack. Jack, you should.
What's
that's
quickly. Corned beef or pastrami, and then what do you prefer? And then best slice of pizza in New York.
Well, there's a bunch. Look, you can find pizza at any. Every place says the world's best pizza, but look, I have a couple spots that I can go to that I know right near the Garden that have some really good pizza. And then look, I'm a hot pastrami guy. Not a big fan of rye, so I might have it on some get some Dijon mustard, some deli mustard, maybe on some challah bread. I mean, you can't. All right,
how is the acceptable substitute?
Yeah.
I feel like so. My mom actually got threatened to get kicked out of a New York deli one time because she tried to put ketchup on corned beef.
Well, that's
a no-no
for dismissal.
That is. It is. It absolutely is. But we got to get you down here in Atlanta. There's a deli called Reuben's downtown that has it's not as good as like a Katz's or like a Carnegie up there, but it's like as good as anything else I've had, where they have really, really good hot pastrami that you would love.
Okay.
Phenomenal pastrami.
Give it a shot.
But I do want to get on the Empire Classic. Obviously, Louisville opens with Texas. Not gonna lie, I look at those two games Sunday, and I think like if you're a betting man, which I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this podcast are, I think you can make a pretty good amount of money from parlaying Texas against the spread in UConn. No matter what the spreads are on those two games, I think Texas and UConn just got to roll those two games because we've obviously hit on Louisville's issues. Indiana has really, really struggled as well. So I want to ask you quickly about Texas, but then I want to kind of talk about a theoretical Louisville-Indiana matchup, because I'll be honest, I would be absolutely stunned if we don't get that matchup on Monday. Texas, obviously, they bring in Max Asmus. They bring back Tyrese Hunter. They got Dylan Dessou, Dylan Mitchell, all these guys. They're not a great shooting team, but they are uber athletic. And I look at Louisville and I go, can they match their athleticism, and can they play discipline enough to keep Texas from getting to the rim and crashing the offensive glass whenever they want?
Right. I wish I could tell you that, Louisville's going to be able to stop that, but the amount of blow-bys that have occurred, I mean, they're averaging about 14 and a half blow-bys per game. Louisville right now in their first four against teams that are not as quick and as athletic as the guys you just mentioned for Texas. So even regardless of shooting, when you can get open shots because they're creating, you talked about Louisville collapsing. I mean, Texas is going to probably be able to get any shot they want. And when bodies come off bodies, which is what happens when you're trying to come over and block a shot, like an Evans or a Huntley Hatfield, then you open up offensive rebound opportunities for Texas big. So yeah, it's a daunting task for Louisville to go in there, and even Texas defensively. Look, we know Rodney Terry's going to have his teams guarding really hard.
They get into you.
And, so that's another factor. So will Louisville be able to get into stuff? How quickly they can get into stuff? Are they going to take bad shots, which can lead to easy opportunities for Texas? So yeah, they've got their work cut out for them for sure.
With that ball pressure too, it's going to be really tough for Louisville to take care of the ball, and a team that's already really struggled with turnovers. It's how can you?
They haven't seen that yet. Yeah. They haven't seen that type of pressure that they're going to see on Sunday. This year, obviously, the teams that are playing them are kind of giving room, and we talked about going under ball screens. Texas isn't going to do that. They might blitz. They might hard hedge. They're going to show them recover, and their guys are going to be all over the place. So there's going to be a lot of active guys with length. So yeah, you've got to really shore up some of the things you want to do offensively and ways to attack Texas.
Yeah, and Texas is a team that, other than Asmus, has that core group of guys has been around for a couple years now, to where they're going to know they're going to know, even if they hard hedge, you can be like, oh yeah, no, you'll get Devin Savage roll into the rim. No, they're going to rotate, and then they're going to rotate again on the back end to be able to close out on a shooter, to where it's going to be
that's the other thing too. Yeah, like Louisville's like their rolls, and that's another point that I've got. They've got to roll hard because it's not usually you're not going to be able to hit the roller a lot of times. It's the lift guy, it's the opposite guy that you're going to hit because guys have to tag. And Louisville's got to do a much better job if they're going to run those ball screens of guys not just popping, rolling hard, because it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. If guys can roll hard, you hit the lift, you can get easy shots, one extra pass. And that's something that like Texas is just not going to allow.
Yeah, and if they do indeed fall to Texas and UConn does take care of Indiana, that sets up a matchup that honestly I think is a lot more intriguing than what I would have thought about a week ago, because I didn't have high expectations for Indiana. I thought they'd be fine, but they show a lot of the same issues Louisville does. We talked about earlier, a lot of threes don't come off of just you leave a dude wide open on the wing and it's one pass and a three. Indiana gives up a lot of wide open threes where it's just one pass and a three and someone gets lost defensively. Like it's I don't know, Coach, how much you've watched of them. It is alarmingly bad how they defend the perimeter and how many offensive rebounds they give up on the defensive end. And on the other end, they really struggle to take care of the ball. They don't really have a identity on the offensive end either, to where they've made plays in their first two games to beat Florida Gulf Coast and Army to kind of pull away late, just because, Xavier Johnson's a good point guard. Khalil Ware, they haven't faced anyone that's big enough to really have a chance to defend him or Malik Renew yet. But Indiana is in a very, very tough spot, to where, from game 1 to game 2, they play a worse opponent in Army, and they didn't improve on anything they needed to improve on from the Florida Gulf Coast game. So I'm not exactly ringing alarm bells yet, because Indiana brought in 10 new guys. They're obviously figuring a lot out, especially on the offensive end. But the thought process was, okay, you need to figure out a bunch of stuff with the new guys. Guys, the offense is going to be a work in progress. You're going to be able, though, to have long, lanky, athletic guys on the defensive end where you can suffocate teams. So far, that hasn't been the case. Army against Stonehill College and Marist didn't score more than 55 points in either game. And Indiana lets them hit, I think, 12 threes on Thursday night. And a lot of them either, again, just simple miscommunications. Malik Renew or Mackenzie Mbako just leave a dude wide open. Or, we talk about ball screen defense. Indiana doesn't know what it's doing defending the ball screen right now. I mean, Xavier Johnson will go under, but Ware or Renew don't hedge out to cover a screen. They just leave dudes wide open routinely, and they don't clean up the defensive glass either. To where I think Louisville, not that I think Louisville's going to win the game, but I don't think it's going to be the same type of game to where, Louisville played a Texas Tech team in Maui last year that ended up finishing dead last in the Big 12, and they lost like 72-38. I don't think it's going to be that type of game either, because I think Louisville's going to get a lot of open looks. They're going to get a lot of offensive rebound chances, which if there's one thing Louisville's done well over the course of two games, I would argue it's that they've crashed the offensive glass fairly consistently. They've done a decent job of that. And on the other end, then the one thing that Louisville's kind of done defensively is be able to force turnovers, and Indiana is very carefree with the basketball. So I look at those three things. If Louisville's able to hit three-pointers, which we don't know if they can do that, but if they can, I truly think they can keep things interesting on Monday against Indiana. I don't think they'll be able to win the game, because at the end of the day, I think, Indiana has more talent on the roster. They're better coached than Louisville, but I think Louisville can make it interesting on Monday. That's not something I thought I would be saying a week ago.
Yeah. I also think Indiana, you might be a little surprised how they come out against Connecticut. I mean, that's going to be something where those guys are jacked up. You go through the Florida Gulf Coast, they're a talented team. And yeah, you talked about some of their shortcomings on the defensive end and some of the things that they're doing, but they do have talent. And I think they'll give Connecticut a little better game than people expect. But then again, Monday, it'll be just fascinating to see which team shores up some of the problems that they have and are more consistent. Yeah, because right now both teams are struggling with just conceptually understanding what they want to do. I still think that IU's got a chance to battle Connecticut. I think Connecticut will come away with that one. And then Monday, look, you only have a day prep too, so it's not like you have a lot of time to. You're really prepping for Texas when you're Louisville. You're prepping for Connecticut when you're IU. you have somebody on your staff that's looking at Louisville from the Indiana end and vice versa, but you're not going to be as familiar. So basically, you have to have great concepts. And if you're not consistent with what you do, then you can really, really struggle. And that game could look really messy if that's the case.
It really could, because those are two teams that don't shoot the ball great, don't take care of the ball great, leave dudes wide open on the perimeter, and don't clean up the defensive glass. That's four pretty keys for a pretty ugly game on Monday, which is, something pretty sad for two programs that are traditionally probably, two of the top 7, 8, 9, 10 programs in the sport. But I think, with Florida Gulf Coast is one thing. Like, that's a team picked to win their league. They're legit, kind of like Chattanooga or like James Madison beat Michigan State. That they're legit mid-major team. Army 338th and Ken Palm, they lost by double digits to Marist and Stonehill. Like, that's a little bit more. Again, long season, all that stuff, but maybe a little more troublesome to where if you're on the Louisville end, though, you can say, okay, maybe that's a chance to be able to compete a little bit more than what you thought. Obviously, still another week to go there, so both teams have chances to improve. All right. I know we got to get going here, Coach. Appreciate the time. As always, we'll do this again next week. Hopefully you get out to New York, because I know that would be.
Hopefully I'm getting a slice. Hopefully I'm getting a nice hot pastrami. That's the goal in the Dr. Brown's. That's the goal, Jack.
Absolutely. That's the absolute dream. So we'll be back next week here, Thanksgiving week edition here on Floyd Street's Finest. For Coach Mark Lieberman, I'm Jack Grossman. We'll catch you next time.